I'd say one of the things that is rule number 2 for ISS was thinking big, though. How do you change the world? And asking yourself about your idea, how could this change the world? And you know, one of the things that Internet Security Systems we did was early on, by taking a simple concept of finding little holes that hackers find, to saying, hey, can we build, you know, one of the world's most respected computer security companies protecting the infrastructure of the entire internet? And we're like, oh, that sounds like a good mission to go do. And so, you know, and the nice thing is, if you explain, here's how we're going to do it, and you have a vision behind it, you get others to believe in that mission. And it's a lot more exciting about, let's go change the world and have a huge impact. And again, it's, you know, and that, I think that is a rallying cry that we always had for the mission of our company. Rule number 3, I'd say get the right team behind your vision. Probably some of the mistakes I would say we made, and I'd see in a lot of startups, is trying to hire too fast to fill you know, hey, I need someone to fill this, and ultimately this position, and ultimately if you didn't get the right person, it always costed us twice as much or 3 times as much. And you realize if you don't get the right people, it's not a zero sum. It's not like, oh, I wasted money. In many cases, it drags the entire team down negatively. So number 4, I'd say a big part is define and grow your culture. We spent a lot of time defining the culture. We didn't really spend that much time, a couple days, but really it was communicating culture. We spent a lot of time talking about it, and it was really important to ISS's success. You know, everyone felt like they were part of the family, that we were growing, and knew the priorities, especially around sense of urgency, being frugal. These are all qualities that you want to distill in the organization, and it's really up to the leaders of that organization to talk about what culture, and then live it. And then, you know, last thing would be think beyond your borders, go international. With ISS, you know, not only was my first customer international, but our revenue for the company was over 50%, and it was pretty interesting. I mean, we were a small company of like 10, 20 people, and we were getting Estonia Telecom calling up saying, hey, we want to protect our infrastructure. Got a lot to cover tonight, but thank you guys, appreciate it.
I began designing systems buildings that I thought you could manufacture, because I felt that most buildings you see in the world were really pretty boring. So if we could just do some manufacturing systems and manufacture these buildings and have different shapes and different parts, people could select something that was more personal to themselves. I designed a system that would allow you to build 43 million variations of buildings. And that's when I thought, well, now this is something. I took it to the country's largest building supply company, Evans Products at that time. They gave me $1 million. Go ahead. We built 5 plants. And then they brought in the Small Business Administration. They gave me $750,000. So okay, so they put that in there. Then they called in their largest supplier. They gave me $2 million. Build a factory. Well, what happened was, one day we were driving out to the Columbia Gorge in looking at the factory site, and I realized I didn't know how to spend the money and manage a factory properly. And I gave it all back. Every time. Prime Minister Trudeau called me. Came to my house with an escort, police, sirens blaring. I'm living in a little bungalow, 2-bedroom bungalow with my wife. And it was really quite a time. But he said that in the interest of U.S.-Canadian relationships, we need you in Canada. They were building a power plant in the Hudson Bay area, and they discovered oil. They wanted to build projects, housing and other buildings will be workers that could be built in the south and barged up during the summer and erected. And so we did that. And from there I got involved with Word Ash, who was the developer of several new towns in England. And we were building new towns in Quebec. We've heard one in Sorel, we thought that was one. The other one was just outside Montreal. The other one was in Montreal, the Olympic Village in Montreal, it's a part of it. In that office, it was really fun. We had 42 people, 5 languages, and everyone spoke at least 2. I got involved with alternative energy. Being an Oregonian, I was very concerned with the way trees are being chopped down and used to build structures as studs inside. And so I decided that I would work on alternative energy systems. I got involved in designing something that I considered perpetual energy. I designed motors that would drive trains, that would drive cars, would drive trucks. Went to Ford Motor Company, tried to sell it to them. Went to Chrysler, tried to sell it to them. Lo and behold, Mitsubishi and Toyota bought some of my products. I was surprised. I also developed here, based on that same system, a top management software system to operate and run the Olympics Program Development Program, which Georgia Tech and several other universities are still using. In conjunction with that, I developed another large community development system that, when I finished writing the software, it took 28 minutes to run. You can put in a price, put in a size of the building, put in anything, and you would get a complete set of plans, not a complete set of plans, a complete operation. You would do the estimates, do everything you needed to do in the building industry. The company was self-defined because people came to me for solutions to problems. They had problems. Nations with problems, cities with problems, towns with problems. Because I was instrumentally involved with the development of what you might call modern-day Portland, Oregon, in the state of Oregon. I developed a number of programs for the city of Portland, beginning with the neighborhood organizations, and built a revolutionary neighborhood community organization that required people bring to the organization specific projects that would be voted on by the community. And then if your project was chosen, you would become a president. And your job was to carry out that project. We'd wait 4 months, and another project would come, and the community would vote on it. And you too would become a president. So we had 3 presidents of the organization, and each one was responsible for their individual project. So my company is self-defined. I never had a goal. I wanted to be a physicist first and an architect next. That was my goal. But before that, I wanted to be a professional football player, or a professional ice skater. But at some point, I decided that sports really weren't the thing for me. And as more and more countries and more companies and more individuals and communities came for solutions, that's what I provided for them. We've done business in 38 countries. I've lived in 8. And I'm continuing to do business in Russia, China, Argentina, you name it. I used to say have pencil, will try. Now I have too many people to say have pencil anymore. I said have people need jobs. So, but I don't advertise, I don't market, we don't do any of that. We have 63 projects, and we have 30 years worth of work, and we're everywhere. So that's how I define more international. I prefer the privacy of my home. I prefer not marketing and advertising. And I usually leave that up to people who know. People who know me come, people who don't. So we don't sell. We've had up to 1,400 employees. So that tells you more about my company. If anyone has questions later, please let me know.
Find something you're passionate about. Think big. How do you change the world? Get the right team. Culture can't be said enough. If you don't define it, it kind of gets defined itself.